Well, welcome to another video, and today I'm back to doing stupid things, and this time it's with the brand new Dji Air3S, which is a range monster. It's got amazing battery life, it's got the 04 transmission system, and guess what? It'll be put to a extreme range test, and we'll be flying into that big blue thing behind me, the English Channel, or actually this is the Thames Estuary. Now in the Thames Estuary you've got a number of forts. One's called red sand forts, the other one's Mansell forts. They're coastal defences or strategic positions built in the ocean to protect from invasion during the Second World War. You can just about see them in the distance, like sort of little pillars sticking out. Very fascinating place to visit. The only way you can get to it normally is by boat, but today we'll be trying to do it with one of these bad boys. 9.5 kilometers each way, and what's even worse, we'll be flying into the wind coming back, which is the worst kind of thing you want to be doing for range checks and long distance flights. Normally you want to be flying into the wind and then coming back with the wind behind you. Unfortunately, there's no choice over the position and the direction we'll be flying, so we have to fly back into the wind. It's only about 5 to 7 miles an hour, but I don't like it at all, but it's the only way we're going to be able to do it. So there we go. Now, earlier today, we did a few checks on this already and took it to 5 kilometers, flew back, and the numbers didn't look very good at all. It took about 23% to fly out, and then another depleting the battery down to 45%, so 55% in total for a 5 kilometer out and back flight, which is very, very much on the edge. So I don't like those numbers at all. Right, just coming on to land, and okay, so we've got 45% left in the tank. Just going to do some maths and work out how we're going to do this, because it's much tighter than I was hoping, which is not good. We then did another flight, 7 kilometers, changed the speed a little bit because that test was sort of regulating between sports mode, normal mode. In normal mode with the Air3S, there's something with these vision sensors where it sort of does this a lot, and you can see this on a bit of B-roll footage that I took where you can actually see it sort of doing this funny wobble where the vision sensors seem to be interfering with the flight and thinking that there's an obstacle. Obviously I don't want that when we're flying out, so instead it'll be flown in sports mode, which doesn't use vision sensors for flight regulation, and regulating the speed down to about 55 kilometers an hour, which is, I guess, more efficient than flying at 70. So just to cover myself and to appease those of you who are really safety conscious, we're flying into the ocean. In the UK and the EU and most parts in the world, it is against the law to fly out of line of sight. A line of sight for this little drone is probably about 1 kilometer. This is clearly further than that. So yes, it's very naughty to do this, and for that very reason I'll be using my very good friend next to me who's anonymous. Let's come over here for a second. There he is, just to prove that there is one. There. It's not a random person I've just dragged from the street, honest. So I'll be using my anonymous friend to fly the drone for me. So 7 kilometers looked okay. The numbers sort of stacked up a bit more. What I've worked out is that if we take it to a maximum of 40% flying out, then that should land back here with 10% if I'm lucky. Anyway, I think it's time to get going. We're going to take off, see how that goes, and hopefully not drown a Dji Air3S. Wish me luck. Let's get going. With 3 kilometers and used 12%. That battery seems to be performing worse than the one we took on the 7 kilometer flight, so I'm not particularly happy about that. that drone gets to 60% remaining, we will be turning around regardless, because it's not worth it. It's really unpredictable to fly back into the wind, especially when the only place to land is that blue stuff back there. Okay, we're 71% with 9 kilometers out, so almost there. Just 29% to fly 9 kilometers. Absolutely astounding that it can do that. Absolutely mad. So we're on our way back 62%, and we've got to cover 9.5 kilometers into the wind. Mild wind, but still wind. Battery's now at 50% capacity, so it's literally halfway down and it's already on its way back, and it's 7 kilometers to go. So it's done a round trip of nearly 13 kilometers. %, remaining after a 19-kilometer flight into the English Channel, including filming them, probably spending about 7% up there, doing a bit of footage, which I hope you enjoyed. And it's in one piece and it's dry, and I got it back, and I'm very, very happy about that. I'm absolutely thrilled what range you get out of this little drone. Now I have to admit, I was a bit worried during the practice tests. 5 kilometers, it didn't look particularly good. It took 55% to fly back. Now, I think one of the big things with this drone is these little positioning sensors are very, very susceptible to little smudges on. I mean, they look clean at the moment, but even looking as clean as they are, any marks on them, any fingerprints, anything like that will interfere with your vision sensing, and that drone will be doing this constantly. And you'll see this from some of the B-roll footage I took. I'll show it again now. But yeah, it's not very pretty how it does that, and that's not going to do much for your range, because that speed's going to tail off constantly and speed up and tail off. So what I would recommend, if you're going to do this sort of naughty stuff, and we'll talk about that in a second, is turn off your vision sensors or fly in sports mode and maybe reduce your speed down to about 55 kilometers an hour, which is, in my opinion, a good efficient speed to be flying at. So at the end, just a really quick disclaimer. Doing this sort of thing is something you shouldn't be doing. Flying out of line of sight in the EU, Britain, USA is against the law, and 1 kilometer is pretty much the best you can fly to keep this in line of sight. So please, please don't do this. I'm doing this so that you don't have to, for your entertainment, but it's still naughty, and I'm acknowledging that. I'm not saying this is right, but we are mitigating those risks by flying somewhere where there's no damage to be done with this. So please, please bear that in mind. Please be sensible. But I hope you enjoyed this video and you found it fascinating like I did. The range on this drone is absolutely phenomenal, and I'm thrilled what it can do. Anyway, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Such a good range on this, both in terms of the transmission and the battery. So thrilled, and so thrilled to have got it back in one piece. Until next time, happy flying, stay safe, stay sensible, and see you soon. Bye bye.